Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
Jeff Dahlke of Two Rivers is an independent candidate in the 2nd Assembly District. The election's November 6th. Jeff, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Thanks for having me.
An independent candidate, why are you not a R or a D, sir?
Well, I don't want to be beholden to any party.
You don't?
The only people that I want to answer to are the people of Wisconsin.
You have an interesting background in that you've worked in construction for quite a period.
33 years.
33 years, and your website calls you a paving expert. So let's start with the impasse in the Capitol over how to pay for highways and bridges and construction and maintenance. You've got your career
right
in this industry. What are your thoughts on how we break the impasse and pay for highways?
Well, the first thing I think that we need to do, and people don't always agree with this, but we haven't had a tax increase in 5 years or in 10 years. So 5 cents, that's all we're asking. You know, for most people, filling up their tank, that's $1 a week. These are the same people that'll complain that are spending $4 a day on their coffee from Starbucks.
Okay.
The best way I think that we can do that is with that 5 cents, that'll raise about $200 million. And I believe that we should take 2/3 of all the traffic citation money that is generated locally, county, state, put that 2/3 of the money towards the budget. And also the legalization and taxation of marijuana across the board, same thing. 2/3 goes right to the transportation budget.
So
that alone should fund everything.
So obviously you just said you favor the legal recreational marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
You tax it. Would all that money go for our highways?
2/3.
2/3.
Mm-hmm.
And the other third would go for what?
Health.
Health care.
Yes.
Well, let's get into health care a little bit. Well, no, let's back up. Transportation. When toll roads are mentioned in the Capitol, your response?
I believe it's a bad idea. It costs a lot of money to build them, maintain them. I don't think the cost benefit is right there. It's, you know, I don't think it's a good idea.
So you support a gas tax increase. I think you said 5 pennies.
Yep.
What about the registration fee, the $75 you and I pay to register our vehicles?
I think that's high enough, but if the budget comes down to it and we do need a little bit more, I don't think people are going to complain about $5. Again, same people that are spending $4 a day on their coffee.
Understand. Now let's get to health care. How would you protect and expand health care in the rural areas, Jeff?
That's a good question. I think what we need to do there, again, is help out with the funding of that through the legalization of marijuana. Mm-hmm. You know, that'll help offset some of the costs. And I believe that in small communities, they should be able to get together and join forces and, you know, get a reduced rate for health insurance.
Some of the Democrats say we should work towards a single payer, a universal healthcare system. Do you have a position on that?
I don't think that we should do that. You know, everything worked fine before except for the pre-existing conditions. If we can do away with pre-existing conditions, if you move from one insurance provider to another, they should have no business knowing what happened in the past, and your rate should not raise. It's not fair.
Does state government have a role to retain and recruit doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals? Is that the job of state government?
I don't believe so.
No?
No.
Just because there's a private system should do that?
The state government is in way too much business anyway. I think the less government that we can have, the better off we're going to be.
State government and Delta Dental have a shared program by which they fund dental clinics in low-income areas. Mm-hmm. Should that remain a priority, or is that another area where the government shouldn't be involved?
I believe where the incomes are low, that they still need to continue on with those programs. But if you can afford your insurance, you can afford your insurance. The problem that we have is that gap where you make this much, you don't qualify. You make this much and you do.
Yeah.
That gap in between, sometimes it's better for a person to take a job that's paying $10,000 a year less, because then they get benefits. That's kind of insane that we do it that way. We need to fix that bridge.
AARP raises a question of caregivers. AARP estimates 578,000 Wisconsin residents provide care to a family member or a friend or someone they love. So my question is, would you support laws or regulations that require hospitals to recognize and work with family caregivers when those they love are hospitalized?
I believe so.
So that'd be good public policy.
Yeah, I think so. As long as they're qualified to do it.
Understand. Local governments have had to live with levy limits to control property taxes for about 14 years. Local government leaders, some of them, are saying that hurts their ability to provide local services. Now, the options with levy limits: keep them, loosen them, or get rid of them. Do you have a position?
I think we should go somewhere between get rid of and loosen. The problem now is we keep looking back on what we should be spending. Really, you need to look forward. You know, why keep looking at the past and what we had spent when you can look forward and say, okay, this is the money that we need this year, this is the money that we need next year, the following year. Look forward and set those levy limits, not backwards.
Okay. The tax breaks, the incentives for Foxconn. Rather large investment if Foxconn builds and hires up to 13,000. How would you have voted on the Foxconn?
I'd have voted it down.
Why?
It's a poor business decision.
It is.
Would you like, here, I'll put it in perspective. Would somebody like to give me their 401k and say, here, this, you can have this for 20 years and I'll take whatever I can on profits on year 21? It's poor business practice. And there's not even a guarantee on it. So I think it was a bad decision.
Kimberly-Clark now wants Foxconn tax breaks, tax incentives. Kimberly-Clark is a homegrown Wisconsin company. Still vote no on that?
Well, because we did say yes for Foxconn, now that opened up the floodgates. Now we almost have to for Kimberly-Clark. You know, they set precedents back then and it was a bad idea.
Okay. But
you have to stay true and be fair to everybody.
But you would have voted against Foxconn.
Yes.
So if you had a vote on Kimberly-Clark, you'd also vote no, just to stay consistent?
If that would have been first, yes. But now that we set precedents, now you would have to, because precedents has been set that, you know, you can't be favoring one company over another.
Would you be afraid of every other company in Wisconsin coming in?
Definitely afraid.
Where would you draw the line?
Exactly. You have to draw the line somewhere, and that's where we need to sit down with people and say, okay, what's the cost-benefit factor in this? When is it going to, you know, make a company leave? When is it going to let them stay? We need to look at that a little closer.
The current state budget included a significant increase in state aid for K-12 public schools. When you talk to local school administrators, superintendents, principals, and teachers, do they say we need another major increase in state aid in the next state budget? What are you hearing in terms of the future?
Everybody says they need more money.
Right. And your answer?
I think that they need to start cleaning up their houses. Did you know that 34% of a budget in a school goes to aides and support people? 4% goes to administration, and the rest goes to the teachers. But that 34% is the problem. You know, administration and that number there, I think if we shrink that number, I don't remember when we were kids ever having, you know, teachers' aides in every room. Why do we have to have them now? And we need to back up a little bit and relook at that. And I think if they start cutting their costs and doing their own budgets properly, I think we can save a lot of money.
The voucher, the choice program, this allows students to attend private schools getting state aid. It's grown, started in Milwaukee, it's grown to Racine, now it's statewide. Do you have a position on choice and voucher and whether it should be expanded further?
I don't really care for that idea. If you want your child to go to a different school, well, then take them to a different school. You know,
without
you have the choice.
Without state help?
Yes. Because I know in a lot of districts now you can send your child to a different school district, but you had to make sure they get there, make sure they get home. And I believe we need to continue it that way instead of giving the voucher.
There'll be a big debate in the next session over the Department of Corrections budget. You know, the Green Bay prison and the prison in Waupun were built in the 1800s. So the discussion is, do we need a new state prison? Do you have a position on that?
We need to look at what we have and the true population. If we go ahead and legalize marijuana, how many of those people are in there on marijuana charges alone and nothing else? Once you take those numbers out of there, then I think we need to readjust and see, do we need another prison? Can we combine? Do we need to upgrade? I think we need to look at it from that perspective, because there's actually people in there now for a victimless crime. If you're in there for marijuana and you were selling anything else with it, well, then by all means you need to stay there. But if you were just selling marijuana and nothing else, I think that's going to, get rid of a lot of people in there.
The UW system budget, we've had a freeze on resident undergraduate tuition for 6 years. The governor said Saturday he'd like to continue it for a 7th and 8th year. You have a position on continuing the tuition freeze?
I agree with it.
You want to keep the freeze in place?
Yes, keep it in place. And again, if they're having money issues, I think the big problem on the state level for school is, again, administration. There's just so much administration cost in everything now. I see it in the workplace too, but it goes throughout the whole spectrum of everything that's going on. Administration is so expensive. Dig into it, find out what's needed and what's not, and start reevaluating.
What have you learned about the 2nd District and its needs since you're now campaigning to represent it? Tell me about the characteristics of the 2nd.
Most of them are pretty much worried about the same things. And again, everything too, but mostly it's transportation. Water quality is a big one. Health costs and jobs.
Talk to me about what you've heard about water quality. What's the concern?
The concern is that there's contaminants and actual raw sewage that are in some of the wells it's out of the district, but it's near Kewanee.
This is the Kewanee County
yes,
issue.
This is the Kewanee. The problem there is, and I've seen it firsthand when I was living on an old farmhouse that my grandparents used to own, and they would come in one day. It was about a 100-acre field. They put on $500,000 of liquid sewage from the farm, or 500,000 gallons. I'm sorry.
Gallons?
500,000 gallons in one day. The next day, it rained. So where does it go? It gets washed into your water supplies. We need to do something about that. The small farmers are doing the right thing. They'll spread their stuff daily. But once you get to the corporate farms, they're making everybody look bad, and they're the whole problem.
Should there be a moratorium on corporate farming in Wisconsin? Some of these CAFOs?
I believe so. I believe so.
There should be.
And what we need to do is probably sit down with geologists and scientists and see what's the best way to do in the areas that are troublesome, like Kewanee, because they have mostly clay. And when they figure out how that we can, take care of this water and the sewage, that I think that they should be able to find a solution to the problem.
Okay. We've talked about a number of issues. Is there anything else that's important to your campaign that I haven't mentioned or haven't asked you about?
Not really. Just mostly the transportation. I think that's our biggest problem right now in the state, and I have ways to fund it.
Okay. And then finally, why are you more qualified than the Democrat and the Republican running in this 2nd?
Well, I was born and raised in the district. I'm the only one that was born and raised in the heart of the district. Other ones had been in and out, but I've primarily been here my whole life. People can come up to me and talk to me as if they've known me their entire life, because a lot of them have. But because I'm local and because people know that, they have a better understanding of how I feel and how they can talk to me. It's a very unique situation for us.
Thank you. Jeff Dahlke of Two Rivers is an independent candidate in the 2nd Assembly District. The election is November 6th. Jeff, thank you for visiting with WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.